Hey everybody, welcome back to Spilling Tea Book Club. It's Russell.
And I'm Ryan.
And today we are here to talk about our 2021 reading list. Welcome back, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about these books. We've picked out 11 books for the next year to read for the Spilling Tea Book Club. And I'm so excited for all of them.
Yeah, we did a lot of research this time because we wanted to make sure that we had such an eclectic list that showed many different perspectives. And we also took a lot of advice from the people who have been in the book club for 2020.
Yeah, I think we have a really good selection. We have some big names that people are going to be familiar with, but maybe haven't read. I think we've covered a lot of the decades through the 20th century. We've covered a lot of different women's perspectives, from the Dominican Republic to Native Americans to British white people. So it'll be an interesting list.
I think the one thing we did find when we were talking about this list was the amazing amount of them that actually occur in New York. I think that was the only thing, and we were surprised by it once we actually made the list.
Yeah, I think we didn't totally realize how New York centric maybe it was. Maybe we'll have to branch out next year and look at more geography. But I think we have a pretty good perspective from a lot of different identities.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see if that doesn't make any sense, guys. If 2021 shows us some of the similar themes that we saw in the 7 books we read in 2020, which is one of the things we really appreciated, was we were able to sort of connect those books, though they were so vastly different. So it'll be really interesting if we have the same sort of experience this year.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see how they all connect together. And if they don't, maybe why don't they?
Yeah. So how are we going to do this? We're going to break it down per month for you guys. I'm going to hold up the first of the 5 books, and then Ryan will hold up the last of the 6, or we'll probably both hold them up for a while too. You know, whatever happens. We won't give you the dates of every meeting moving forward for the rest of the year, but we will tell you that our first meeting is February 13th. 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which we know is 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 p.m. in Great Britain, and 7 p.m. in the Netherlands, because we have people who join the book club from those countries, so we know.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to get started. Let's talk about our first book, Ryan, and that is The Living is Easy by Dorothy West. This is actually the new edition that's just been published by the Feminist Press, and it has a introduction by Morgan Jerkins, who I am a huge fan in. Dorothy West is considered sort of like the youngest member of the Harlem Renaissance, and she wrote this book in the late 40s was when it was published. And it's the story of a woman who is trying she's from the South, but she moves to Boston in order to sort of get her daughter into the upper class Black community of Boston. She marries a much older man with the intention of sort of using that money. And she brings like her sisters and their children north and leaves the husbands at home in an attempt to do this. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about The Living is Easy. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. And it'll be interesting to compare that to The Street by Anne Petrie, which was from around the same period.
Yes. Yeah. Great. So one written, and they were written at basically the same time too. So it'll be super interesting to see. So again, so the February book club, so you'll read it over January and we meet on February 13th at 10 a.m. is The Living is Easy by Dorothy West. So yes. Oh, goodness. Well, where are we going next, Ryan? I'll hold it up here, and I'm going to try to say this author's name, and you guys, it's a Polish last name. So this is Bread Givers by Anzia Yezierska, and I know I'm absolutely saying that wrong. But this is the first of our books that goes to New York. So this is actually set in the 1920s in New York. And it's the story of a young girl, a member of an Orthodox Jewish family, that decides that she wants to sort of rebel against the strict rules for women in her culture. So she actually leaves her family. And I believe she like takes all sorts of odd jobs on and rents a room and just decides she's going to, you know, try to do life a way that she wants to do it versus the way that it's been told to her.
Yeah, this book sounded really good because it deals with the tenements in the Lower East Side during the 20s. So it's about 100 years ago now. It's something that I'm aware of. Like, I'm aware of that time, but I haven't really dug into a lot of literature from that and from the Jewish perspective. So that will be very interesting.
Yeah, and we have to thank our book club member Robin, because she was the one who recommended this book to us. And when she mentioned it, both Ryan and I were like, yes, that sounds like something we would absolutely try to read. So that is Bread Givers by Anzia, Yezierska. And I'm so sorry. My Polish is so poor. There's no.
We'll spell it out in the notes. At the
Yes, we will.
After.
Yes, we will. Oh, goodness. Okay. So I know that I'm doing all the talking right now, but Ryan's going to do it at the end, I promise. And it's really because Ryan has all the books already, and I'm still sort of struggling to get those last 3 in. So we are going to a Booker Prize winner next. And I think we're both really excited to read this book because neither of us have read anything by her, I believe, right?
I don't think so.
So book number 3, so this would be the book for March, is Hotel du Lac by Anita Brookner. And this won her the Booker Prize and really sort of launched her into stardom. There's not much to say about this book because I am keeping it a little bit under my coat. What's the word you use when you don't want to know too much? Because I have such high expectations for this book that I want it to be an absolute surprise.
Just from the back of the book, I know it's about a woman who writes romance novels, and she flees to this hotel on the lake in Switzerland. So
I think that's enough, right?
That's all I need.
Yes, that's all I need too. And I think that it's, I know that Anita Brookner has sort of a reputation. She can be a little bit melancholy, I think. So I love that. I like myself a sad, dark book. So I'm super excited about it. So that is Hotel du Lac by Anita Brookner. And this is, again, March's book, right? Yes, March.
That'll be it. We'll read it in March and we'll meet in April.
Yes.
That one.
So remember always, you guys, that we read the book over the month and then we meet at the beginning of the next month to discuss it. And again, if you want to join our Zoom meetings, we'll say this a couple of times throughout this video today. More the merrier. If you are super excited about it, just email either Ryan or I. We will get you on the email list and we will send you the Zoom meeting. It's been fantastic so far. And we would love to have more people join us. Okay, so the next read is going to be an author that I'm sure we all know, and that is Amy Tan. But we're going to be reading The 100 Secret Senses. Amy Tan is very well known for the Joy Luck Club, but this book is, I think it was her next novel. I'm not 100% sure. But this is a story that is set in 2 locations, in San Francisco and a rural village in China. And I know it's about 2 girls. One's like 5 years old when she meets a sister she didn't know she had, who is much older than her. And sort of those stories combine. And we go from the meeting in San Francisco, and then we go back in time to the older sister's life growing up in China, I believe. So I think Amy Tan mixes those 2 stories together. I love Amy Tan, so I'm super excited to read this. She just has such a way of just like bringing you into her stories.
Yeah, this sounds really good. And it's another immigrant story, which I think will be interesting. And this one is in the 90s. So it's going to be our most recent book, I believe. And so that'll be interesting to see what this has to say about the immigrant experience of the late 20th century versus like Bread Givers, which is an immigrant experience in the early 20th century. So
exactly.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and look, we're already finding possible themes that can bring these books together. We haven't even read any of them yet. See, guys, we're so good at this. We're so good. I think it's our May book, but we're meeting in June. I'm not exactly sure. Is that true? Okay.
Yes.
And the reason we picked this book is, as you guys know, we tried to be really aware of different things that were going on throughout the year. June is Pride Month across the United States. So we're going to be reading The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. You guys may know this better because the movie version that came out was named Carol. And then they reissued this book with that title, with Carol as the title. And this is the story of a relationship between two women. And the movie is beautiful, beautiful. I haven't actually watched it. I've only watched clips of it. So I'm so excited that we are going to be able to actually do that book reading movie experience because they both have got such praise. So it'll be interesting to compare the two.
That's true. And I've never read anything by Patricia Highsmith, and I've always wanted to. So I'm super excited for this one.
Me too. The only thing I've read by her is The Talented Mr. Ripley, which is, I think, a complete departure from what we're going to get here in The Price of Salt.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
So this is The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. So I'm excited about all these. So
these all sound so good.
And I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, who's going to bring up the books.
So for July, we're going to read A House in the Country by Ruth Adams. This is a Dean Street Press book, and they all kind of have this style, which I love. Like, this book is beautiful, and if you want to read books that have been out of print for a while, check out Dean Street Press. They have a whole catalog of them, and they all sound amazing. This one takes place in World War II, where a group of friends escapes London during the Blitz, and they all live in this giant manor in the country. There is a lavish garden. There's an elderly gardener. There's a knife-wielding maid. There's unruly pigs, and there's a ghost of a scullery maid. I don't know if anything else could sell a book more easily, but this sounds perfect.
I can't believe that. I mean, it's not a big book, and all of that stuff you just said, I'm like, how is it all going to get into this little tiny book? But I cannot wait.
Yes, this sounds so fun. It's a World War II story. It's friends in the country. It's based on the author's real life experience. So this should be a fascinating read, perfect for a hot July summer read. So make sure
I'm super excited for it. And if you guys watch my channel at all, Dean Street Press, I'm like a super fan right now. So love them. So excited for that one.
Yeah. Support Dean Street Press. Our next book, you may have heard of the author. Her name is Joan Didion. She's known mostly for her nonfiction, I would say. She's written Slouching Towards Bethlehem, The White Album, Year of Magical Thinking, a lot of nonfiction, but this is her first novel, I believe. And this takes place in Las Vegas, Hollywood, the Mojave Desert in the 60s. So it sounds really good. It sounds dark, so that'll be interesting to see where this goes. But I haven't read a lot of Joan Didion, and I've not read her fiction at all, so I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, I haven't read her fiction either. I've yet read The Year of Magical Thinking, which absolutely broke my heart. And I think I've read some of her essays, and but I've never read any of her fiction. So, and she has a new collection of essays coming out this year. So I think that's why she was sort of in our mind, is like, she's sort of a cornerstone of American letters. So it'll be super exciting to read her.
Earlier this year, I read my autobiography of Carson Mccullers, which was a really great memoir/history of a woman coming to terms with herself while also researching Carson Mccullers. So we decided we should read a book by Carson Mccullers. A lot of people have read The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, which is probably your more famous work, but this is The Member of the Wedding. And it's a really good slim book that was made into a movie, and I'm really excited about it. I actually don't know much about it, but I know it received a lot of acclaim. She has not written that much before she passed away. So I'm really excited to talk about this with people. I love this cover because it's so old-fashioned,
I love it
and
too.
And it's like this little paperback, which, you know, you really don't see anymore. So I was really happy to find this one.
Yeah, no, that is a fantastic cover. I remember, and I think it was in my autobiography of Carson Mccullers, where she talked about the fact that not only did she publish this, then this became a play, and she worked for a long time on developing the play and the script for that too. So I think that this was a book that she really was passionate about the story too. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited about it. Your cover is way better than the new cover. I mean, the new cover is just straightforward. It's a wedding cake. So yours is way better.
Okay, so that was for September. Our October meeting will be about How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents by Julia Alvarez. We decided to read this for like Latinx Heritage Month, which starts in the middle of October. And this is about a family from the Dominican Republic who moves to New York, another New York story. And it's 15 interconnected short stories about this family. So it sounds really good. It sounds like a fun perspective from like a lot of different women. And we read another kind of interconnected short story book this year, The Women of Brewster Place. So it'll be interesting to see how these connect. They're in the same city. This one will probably have more immigrant issues, but I'm excited to see how we can compare these.
I agree. And isn't it interesting when we keep talking about these New York stories, but they're also New York immigrant stories. So clearly there's a thing out there in the world that when you write an immigrant story about America, most of these people are winding up in New York in these time periods. So that's very interesting.
Yeah. So it'd be great. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah.
Our November read for Indigenous Peoples Month is going to be Ceremony by Leslie Marmon Silko. This is a book about a young Native American who was kept prisoner in a Japanese internment camp during World War II. So they didn't just inter Japanese people. They couldn't even tell the difference between Japanese people and Native Americans, I guess, which, I mean, that is just such a dark time in US history. Like, it's always good to like revisit that and remember how awful that was. But this book is about his return to the reservation after that experience. So I've not read anything by Silko, but this is on like the top of lists, especially for Native American literature and Indigenous peoples fiction. So I'm really excited about this one.
So I read that book in college, which for me was like, you know, almost 20 years ago now. I don't remember much about it other than I loved it, you know, and I remember being blown away by it. So I am so excited to return to it and, you know, read it as a more sophisticated reader in my 40s. And also with everything that's going on in the world right now, I feel like we're going to still feel a connection to that story in our current political climate. I
think so too. And then our final story is Lucy by Jamaica Kincaid, about an au pair named Lucy who moves from the West Indies to the US. I think this is in New York also, but it didn't say on the back. And she lives with this family that looks like they have a great life. They're married, they have 3 kids, everything's perfect, they have a lot of money, but maybe it's not. And so this sounds very intriguing to me. I'm interested to see what happens with Lucy, because I feel like this could be a really dark book or maybe a really fun book. I'm not sure. So that's Lucy by Jamaica Kincaid, and that'll be for our December meeting.
And I don't know about you, Ryan, but Jamaica Kincaid has been one of those authors that I've heard a ton about, but I just have never read. So I'm so excited that we're going to add her to the book club so I can say that we read her and, you know, maybe turn her into a favorite author once it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty exciting reading list.
I think it's a very diverse reading list. I'm very happy to get some new authors that we haven't read. But some big names too. Like these are names that should be on everybody's reading list, I feel like. So it's a nice opportunity to get to read some of these and talk about it with other people.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read this list with you because we have such a great conversation. And then we add in, you know, the 15 other people that join our book club, and it just so adds depth and dimension and perspective. It's been really fun to do this, especially with lockdown, how it's been. It's just nice to talk to bookish people about great books.
Yeah, it really is.
So that is 2021 already planned. I think we deserve like a round of applause. We're so ready, right?
Yeah.
That's so good. So again, I remind everyone, if you want to join our Zoom book club, you don't have to come to every meeting. If one of these books speaks to you more than any of the others, feel free to email myself at russell@inkandpaperblog. And Ryan, your email is?
readbyryan@icloud.com.
That's right, readbyryan@icloud.com. You can email either of us. It will be in the notes down below as well. We send out the notification of the Zoom meeting about a week before. We usually meet the first Saturday of every month. Every once in a while, we do have to shift, you know, just because of how things go in the world. But that is usually when we meet, that first Saturday of every month at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you guys are more than welcome to join us. Please, we have fantastic conversations. We try to make sure everyone gets involved and has an opportunity to talk about the books.
Right.
So it's a really exciting time, and we really enjoy it.
Yep. I'm super excited. I can't wait to talk about all these books.
So Ryan and I are going to say goodbye for today and hope that we will see you guys on February 13th. So until next time, bye from me.
Bye.
And happy reading, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.